Good afternoon. I will present you here an overview of what we know about the composition of comets, about their chemical diversity, and I will also present a new result obtained on the isotopic ratio, that is about isotopic ratio on nitrogen and deuterium. Excuse me, I need to learn about that.
Well, it's not working, Mel. It's not you. Just one technical problem. We will be back in a few instants.
Okay, so why studying comets? First, of course, as we heard today and previous day, it's interesting to learn about comet because they can say maybe something about the origin of life. They may have brought some organic material, but also they are interesting to study because they can provide a lot of information about the composition of the solar nebula. And also they are the relics of the planetesimal which lead to the formation of planets. So it is very interesting to know the composition of this planetesimal. When we are studying the composition of comets, we are interested to know whether this composition is a relic of the interstellar chemistry, that is, on the chemistry that happened in the presolar cloud. And because possibly some of these interstellar grains, in fact, agglomerated to form comets. We are interested also to compare the composition of comet to the model of the protostellar disk, of the protosolar nebula, because very probably very rich chemistry occurred in the outer region of the protosolar nebula before the ices condense and form the planetary bodies. Another aspect, the weather in these comets, which form very far from the sun, we can have some compounds which were formed in the inner region of the solar nebula. And we know that in comets we have material which form effectively at very hot temperature in the inner solar nebula because crystalline silicates have been detected, and these crystalline silicates were formed in hot environment. Another important point is when we study the composition of comets is whether these compositions that we measure in general in the atmosphere is representative of the composition in the nucleus, and also whether this composition has been affected by the various revolutions of the comets around the sun. So, and finally, this is a very big topic nowadays. We are trying to study the chemical diversity of comets because comets may have formed in different regions of the solar system. And in particular, there are two dynamical classes. The Oort-cloud comets, these comets are coming from this cloud, but they form in the inner solar system region between Saturn and Neptune. And you have this second population, the Jupiter family comets, which form lightly beyond Neptune. So what we are trying to do is to look to see if we can see difference in these two dynamical classes, which could be related to the formation in different regions. So this is the outline of my talk. First, I will present a summary of the composition of comets, then talk about the chemical diversity, and after about isotopic ratio. So this is a summary of what you know about the composition of comets. I will here only talk about the composition of the ices. So you see here, it's all the molecules which have been detected in the atmosphere of comets, so about 24 of molecules. And in red, you see here is the range of abundance. So you see immediately that you have a large diversity in comets. So what you see here is that the main compound is water, that nitrogen is mainly in NH3, sulfur is mainly in H2S. You have a lot of many organic compounds, which are, some of them are quite complex. And you see that the abundances between all these species can vary over a very large order of magnitude of up to 5. You see also that you have both hydrogenated and oxygenated species. You have saturated and non-saturated species. And in addition to this molecule, we know that we have much more complex molecules. For example, we know now that formaldehyde is not directly coming from the nucleus, mainly. In fact, likely there are polymers inside the grains which degrade and form H2CO in the coma. In addition to these species which were observed by remote sensing observations, you have also a molecule which were detected in the samples returned by the Stardust mission, which are methylamine and ethylamine. If you look to this composition, you see a very big similarity with the composition of star-forming region. And the chemistry of star-forming region have been studied in long detail. And what is the conclusion is that all these molecules formed by ion molecule and grain surface chemistry, which means that the molecules that you see in comets likely formed by similar processes than those processes which work in the interstellar medium. So all the molecules that I showed you were, in fact, many of them were detected only in very, very bright comets. And we don't have so many bright comets. So, in fact, since 1997, no new molecules were detected. But nice science was made on the composition of comets. So this is just an example. I put just an example. Here it's an example of observations which were performed with the Spitzer telescope from NASA. So here it's a spectrum, and what you see mainly is a water band at 6.5 micron, and you see here that we would have expected the signature of carbonates in green or pH if those molecule compounds were emitting. In fact, they were not detected. We know now with Stardust that there are little amount of carbonates. We know that there are also pH in grains, but probably why we don't detect it in the atmosphere is because these compounds have a very short lifetime. They are destroyed by the ultraviolet. This is another example of recent observations. So it's the same spectrum, in fact, and you see here a bump. And this bump is an indication of the presence of organics which are not yet identified. This corresponds to a specific bonds, the CH3 umbrella deformation bond. So here, other example of observations which were obtained this time with the Herschel Space Telescope, which is in the sky since 2 years. So what you see here, all these lines, in fact, it was in the comet Hartley 2, which came very close to the Earth and was visited by the EPOXI mission. You see a lot of water lines. But what you see also is that in this comet, we detected a line of HDO, which in fact is the first detection of HDO in a Jupiter family comet. So I will talk again after in the later. Also, H2O18O has been detected, and this is interesting to measure the O15 to O18 isotopic ratio. So now I will talk about diversity. In fact, now with the instrument being more and more powerful, we are able to study the composition of a lot of comets. So this is the first study of diversity which was based on the observation in the optical. These observations are relatively easy. So it's observations of radical C2 and C3, Cn and OH. And you see here the first indication of a diversity and a grouping of comets. So you see here the abundance of C2 is plotted as a function of the Tisserand parameter, which is an indication of the dynamical class of the comet. And what we have seen is that the Jupiter family comets have, in general, depleted in carbon chain molecules like C2 and C3, while the Oort-Cloud comet, in fact, in this population, you don't see so many carbon chain depleted molecules. It turned out that this depletion is thought to be primordial, that is reflecting a property of cometary nuclei. So this study now is done on the molecules that we can measure in the radio and in the infrared, because this testing is the best one to study molecules which are released by the nucleus. So you see here abundance of molecules measured in the radio, and it's an histogram, the number of comets. And in blue, you have the Jupiter family comets. And so what you see is that you have a large diversity of abundance between comets, and that this diversity is also seen in the Jupiter family comet. And Jupiter family comet and Oort-Cloud comets have basically the same composition in average. What we note, however, is that the Jupiter family comets are still poorly sampled, because in general they are not very active. So this is, the previous slide was a result from observation in the infrared. This is pieces, and it was possible to study the composition of different species. And we see exactly the same composition in the two species. This means that this is interpreted as the fact that, in fact, what we measured is representative of the nucleus composition. Otherwise, we could have expected, if we would have some processing at the surface, when the comet split, we would have seen different composition for the two fragments. What is interesting also in this diversity is that we see some correlation between the abundance, for example, between formaldehyde and methanol, or C2H6 and methanol, which means that the process that forms this molecule probably are somewhat related. The chain of formation is probably related. Also, another interesting correlation is found for HNCO and HCN, and for SO, which come from SO2 and H2S. Now that we have all this measurement in a significant number of comets, we are trying to see that if we can find groups. And this is a study based on infrared data, which probe methanol, C2H6, HCN, C2H2, and CO and CH4. And so here is this number corresponds to comets, and these are the abundance. And what we see is that it seems that we have three classes of comets. Comets which are depleted in organics, comets which are average in organics, and some which are enriched in organics. This study from the molecule observed in the infrared has been done also in the radio. So this is a study based on statistical analysis. And it seems that we can find some grouping with some comets which are poor in H2S, for example, and methanol. But if you increase the number of comets, in fact, you increase the number of classes, which means, in fact, that we don't have really classes, but a full diversity of composition of comets. And again, we don't have a grouping according to the volatility of the species. What is interesting is that this ratio is 2 times lower than the ratio in the Earth. And that means that there is a very important enrichment in heavy nitrogen in N15. So you see here, it's a measurement in different kind of comets, both short period comets and long period comets. And you see that all these comets, except 2, in fact, the pink one, share the same value. The pink one corresponds to the comet Schassmann-Weierstrass 3. I show you the picture. In fact, the 2 values correspond to 2 fragments. And so that is the result. So now there is a question whether Cn, because Cn is a radical, where does it come from? And we know that there is HCN in comets, so HCN produces Cn. But there are discussions about the origin of Cn because sometimes we observe more Cn than HCN. So possibly there are some organic material producing CNs, which means that this organic material should be also